Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be going over the fourth case of using events programmatically, and I'm going to be talking about how events can help you make dynamic changes to a stimulus within a single frame. So in this example, or this sample study, all of the changes will happen on one frame. There's no need for multiple frames. So let me show you an example. This is an experiment that I've set up. If you look down here at the left corner in the trials and conditions window, you can see I have 4 trials set up. Each of them looks slightly different, and I'm going to do a little test run here to show you what I mean with programmatic events. Okay, so I have my frame and I have my 4 pictures, and there's no prompt or anything, so let's click around and see what happens. Oop, that picture disappeared, but we're still on the same frame. That one's gone, and now I'm at the next trial. So as you can see, I'm making dynamic changes to my frame without ever leaving the frame. There's no need for multiple frames or multiple levels. You can do all of the changes in one. So let's see an example of how to set this up. I'm creating a new task. I'm going to go ahead and edit it here. So I'm going to set up my frame like this. I'm going to put, let's just do 3 images on this frame. Okay, so I have my 3 images. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up some events. There's just going to be event 1, event 2, event 3. And the trigger is going to be a mouse click on one of the images. So I'm going to set up one event for each image. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the object property. And this is how you're going to make these dynamic changes, is there's several properties of the object that you can change. I'm going to be changing visibility to sort of recreate the study that I just showed you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, my target is image 1, and I'm changing its visibility. And I'm going to make it a constant value of 0 because Labvanced is 1 based. So 1 means it's entirely visible, 0 means it's entirely invisible. And I click Finish. I'm going to actually just copy this event, rename this event 2, and everything is set up. All I have to do is change these targets to image 2. And now I have the exact same event set up for image 2. And then I can copy this event, rename it event 3, and change my images to 3. Great. And click Save. So now, every time you click on one of these images, they become invisible. But how do I get it to where clicking on one of the images actually does something, brings you to the next trial? What I did was I added an invisible element. And I made it about the same size, a little bit smaller than my images. And I just placed it over one of the images and added another event where the trigger was a mouse trigger on the invisible element. And I made this into a jump action where it jumps to the next trial, essentially coding one of the responses as correct because it jumps you to the next trial. Even though the image does disappear, they happen simultaneously, so the participant doesn't really notice. What I also did was I added a variable action, and I recorded the reaction time that it took the participant to click the correct image. So I made this reaction and numeric and interval. Click OK. It went away. Okay, perfect. And it's going to equal a mouse trigger, time from frame onset. So now, when I click on the invisible element, it jumps me to the next trial and records my time from frame onset that it took me to click on that image. And I click Save. Now what I did was I increased this down here in the bottom left Trials and Conditions window to 4 trials. Click this down arrow here, and now I can edit each of the trials individually. So let's say for image 1, I want to load in this image of a deer. And for image 2, I'm going to load in the image of this different deer. And now for image 3, I'm going to load in the same image of the first deer. Okay, and then what I'm going to do for this trial is I'm going to place my invisible element on the odd one out. Okay, I can do the same thing for the next couple trials, just loading in different images, whichever ones I'd like to be shown for that trial. So I will do that quickly. Okay, and then I just find my invisible element, and I place it over the image that I want to be correct, or in this case, the odd image out. Okay, and here's my last trial here. I think I'll make this one up top the odd image this time. Okay, perfect. So I've set up all of my trials, and I've set up my events correctly. All right, let's go ahead and do a test run. Okay, so here's my first trial. I know that this is my odd image, so I'm going to click it. I know that this is my odd image, but just to show you that these two do disappear when you click them. There we go. Ooh, a little bit tricky. Perfect. So that's how you can do dynamic changes with events. Just remember you're adding an event that changes the object property when something happens. And this doesn't have to be a mouse trigger. It can be a keyboard input. It can be maybe on frame start or frame end, however you'd like to structure it. I hope this helps.